Bismillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Many people, they always talk about Jannah, but we have all forgotten about the other side, which is Jahannam. And this is something that should be talked about. It's not something that we shouldn't talk about, teach our children about it. They should know about the punishment that happens in Jahannam, who is in the lowest pits of the hellfire. This is knowledge that should be taught. And the Prophet ﷺ would also keep the habit of teaching this to his companions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Hijr, وَإِنَّ جَهَنَّمَ لَمَوْعِدُهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ لَهَا سَبْعَةُ أَبْوَابٍ لِكُلِّ بَابٍ مِّنْهُمْ جُزْءٌ مَقْسُومٌ. And indeed, hell is the promised place for them all, meaning the disbelievers. It has 7 gates. For every gate is an assigned portion of them. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing Jahannam. And there's many hadith where the Prophet ﷺ would describe it. He would say, if a stone were thrown into Jahannam, it would fall for 70 years before reaching the bottom. Just imagine that. How long would that take? 70 years until it reaches the bottom. How big is Jahannam? And the Prophet ﷺ said, on the day of judgment, Jahannam will be brought forth with 70,000 ropes. And each rope will be pulled by 70,000 angels. Something unimaginable. We can't even imagine. Imagine how angry Jahannam will be, and it will be looking for the people that will inhabit it. And there are many other ahadith about the punishment, and we should learn them. This is not to scare you. The Prophet ﷺ, whenever he would tell about Jahannam, it's not to scare the companions. It's because he cared about them. He wanted them to be saved from the punishment, so he would remind them that if you do this, this will be a punishment in the akhirah. And it was said when he took the journey of Isra wal Mi'raj, he came across a lot of different people. I'll mention just some of them. There's a lot of them, but I'll mention just some of them. There were people whose heads were being shattered. Then every time they would return to their original state. And then they were shattered again without any delay. And then he asked, O Jibreel, who are these people? He replied, these are the people whose heads were too heavy on their pillows to get up and fulfill the prescribed prayer. So the person who wasn't able to wake up for prayer, what's his punishment on the Day of Judgment? He'll be consistently being shattered. His head will be shattered by a boulder, they say. Subhanallah. And there's more. There is a man swimming in a river of blood, and he was struck in his mouth with rocks in which he swallowed. So he was swimming, and the rocks keep coming into his mouth, and he was swallowing them. And then, O Jibreel, what is this? And then he replied, this is what happens to the ones who do riba. Something so common, unfortunately. The ones who eat usury, who do riba. Such a severe, severe punishment. Another one, a man who had gathered a stack of wood which he could not carry, and more wood kept being added onto him. And then he asked, what is this, O Jibreel? He said, this is a man from your nation who gets the trust of people, but he cannot fulfill them. But he keeps carrying them. He says, yes, give me this, don't worry, trust me with this. But he cannot fulfill them. And one more I'll mention. People whose tongues and lips were being sliced with knives. Every time they were sliced, they would return to their original state. And then Jibreel asked, the Prophet asked Jibreel, who is this? He replied, these are the preachers from your nation who used to advise others to do what they themselves did not used to do. Meaning the hypocrites. Meaning they would say, they would give these talks, they would say do this, do that, but they themselves would not do it. And the one who has the least punishment. Look at this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said that, one second here. The least severely punishment of the people of hell will be a man who has 2 shoes and shoelaces of fire. And another version, 2 live coals will be placed on the soles of his feet, because of which his brains will boil as pot boils. And he himself will think this is the most severe punishment, and no one will be punished more than him. But in fact, that is the lightest punishment in Jahannam. So imagine if that is the lightest, what is the greatest? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us from Jahannam. This is a reminder that we should correct our lives so we don't have to end up in that state. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us and enter us into Jannatul Firdaus.